Okay, we are going live now in a minute.
Just need to make sure.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Freedom from Nigeria, where we focus on all things Nigeria, and also we focus on what is going on around Africa that might impact Nigeria. So welcome again. This is Freedom from Nigeria. And today we are going to be talking about what has been generally termed the Fulani menace. And we want to talk about today is the Fulani killings across sub-Sahara Africa are really just herder-farmer conflicts, true or false? Because we have seen repeatedly where we have been told that this is just herder-farmer conflicts. So we're going to take a look and see what's going on around sub-Sahara Africa and what does it really mean? Can there be herder-farmer conflict in Nigeria and all the other places? So we're going to kick it off by talking about who are the Fulani exactly? Who are they? Where are they from? Do they have land in these places where they find themselves? Okay. And then from there, we are going to move on to talk about what is actually going on around Africa. So what is going on around Africa? We'll talk about how other people are handling doing ranching. And why isn't the Fulani doing that? Okay. And then we're going to talk about, once we kind of go over that, we'll come back to Nigeria and talk about what's actually going on in Nigeria, right? Because we have the Bauchi governor saying one thing, Buhari saying something else, and then we'll have a call to action. So we'll kick it off now by talking about the Fulani. And again, all of this is done so that our people will understand what they need to know, giving them the knowledge that they need so that they can demand freedom, demand referendum. So we're having everyone hear exactly what's going on and then make up their own minds, do their research, do more research, because we don't have enough time here to provide everything that is going on. So, okay, so let's talk about the Fulani. Who are they and where are they from? You can unmute because AY is on the phone here. But you can go ahead and unmute. So let's talk about the Fulani. Are the Fulani indigenous? That means an indigenous means that they are from the land. They are ancestral to the land. Are they indigenous to West Africa? So let's start by talking about that. Mojope, your thoughts on that? Are they indigenous to West Africa?
Well, multiple write-ups and even programs and even intellectual discussions and print and video media has shown us over and over again that this set of people are not indigenous to West Africa. They actually come from Sahel or whatever they call that place, but that's where they come from. They are typically nomadic people. And that's what we've learned over time. They are nomadic people. They do not have any land or any ancestral, occupation or, ancestral or, place in West Africa. So what they have been doing is going around with their cattle and trying to, to occupy land in West Africa. And over time, some countries in West Africa, like Nigeria, do have, history with regards to when the first set of Fulanis came into Nigeria. For example, when Uthman Dan Fodio came, I think like late 1700s, to 1800s. Yes. And then, they also have this culture, which we will talk about later on. Yeah. And their culture, is basically not to liaise or to work with people who are indigenous to the land. Their culture, mainly what we've seen so far, is to forcibly take land and all that belongs to other people, by force. And that's what the cause of the conflict has always been wherever they go in West Africa. Because come to think of it, everywhere Fulanis go, trouble follows. So why is that? And so for that reason, I think, it's something that we need to basically, analyze and get a true understanding of why this is going on. But
absolutely,
the answer is no, they are not indigenous to Nigeria or West Africa.
Okay, Citizen AY, are you back with us?
I am. Yes, I am
talk
back
about
now.
where they actually are from, Sahel.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Many of the things. Good evening and welcome to everybody. Everybody joining us on the platform where we're watching, of course, Freedom from Nigeria presentation this evening, headed by Jean. And I want to say good evening to Dr. Modukwere, Professor Anyanwu, and Miss Christina Dosumo as well. Good evening to you all, and to our guests who are watching us tonight. As you all know, my favorite topic of them is talking about the Fulanese and the oppression that they're carrying out in our land. They are non-indigenous to our parts. Let me be very, very clear about that. They are non-indigenous to our parts. Now, we do know, a quick synopsis, I'm not going to show you the maps now. I've spoken about it before. Many, they come from the Guinea area. They come from Mali area. They come from there are some of them in Cameroon and other places. But the three areas that we know of as Futatoro, Futajalon, and Futa, the three of them in that Guinea area. That is the area that the first known recordings of these people migrating. They migrated from that Guinea area to all parts of Africa. But their historical, the record that we have goes back to that 17th century period. Even 14th, maybe slightly more. But anyway, that is where we've seen them. And it is important that we understand that when they talk about the Fulanese being indigenous to Nigeria, it's not the case. And here's one thing I want you to bear in mind in all of this. Certainly the Nigerian ones, they always talk about Usman Dan Fodio, or Uthman Dan Fodio, whichever we want to call it. And Uthman Dan Fodio's parents come from Futajalon in Guinea. Yes, he was born in Sokoto, no doubt about that. He was born there, but they migrated there. And it's very, very important that we keep reminding them that. Because, and what is really important about why I'm raising this is because under the guise of, the Hausas were not following Islam, they took away Hausa land. And that is very, very important. And you will see that as a recurring theme in other countries. For example, Central African Republic. Again, they say they were herding, they were doing all those things. There is a theme here. Under the guise of being, we want to educate you about so-called quote-unquote religion. Your land is what they come for. And they use their pastoral rights or whatever, this thing about land, feeding their cows. They say they are nomads. Fine, you can be nomads, but you cannot claim my land. And that is the thing that we have to really mention. And I'm so glad Dr. Modupe mentioned this evening now, which we actually talked about the fact that they are all over Africa doing the same thing. You can see there's a sequence of events in how they're doing things. You can see that the game plan is all the same wherever they go. Wherever they end up to always try to take your land. And that is their objective. And until we understand that as a group, we cannot take collective action. And it is not only affecting us in Nigeria, Central African Republic. They had to get the Russians in to come and chase them away.
Okay.
So, anyway.
And we gotta talk about ranching, right? Because this is about herder-farmer conflict.
Yes. Now, we're going to come.
So let's talk about that herder-farmer conflict, because you were touching upon that, right? About the fact that they're nomads, they're nomadic, right? So they go from place to place. So let's talk about that, right? Because the Fulanese are going into these countries and insisting on continuing their traditions, ignoring the traditions of the places that they're in. And the world media is talking about how this is herder-farmer conflict. So let's talk about that. How is ranching being done around the world? And Prof, you can join us in this conversation. Yeah, go ahead, Prof. How is ranching? How is cattle rearing being done around the world? And how does that compare to what the Fulanese are doing? And insisting that their host countries adopt. Go ahead, Prof.
I simply want to chip in a few known scientific facts about the origin of the Fulanese.
Okay.
That dispels the doubt in our mind. They are considered a population that came from the Berbers with admixture of European genes. And one prominent example is the fact that most Fulanese, if not all, tolerate lactase, milk, normal milk, which you get from cattle. And that is why, not just because they live on cattle, but they have had these genes because of crossing between the Berbers and Southern Europeans, and they've come to settle across West Africa from Guinea up to the so-called Blue Nile, Southern Sudan. That is a place we see them mostly. I don't want to repeat what every other person has said about the way they behave, but the major thing is they are really genetically not of West African or Sub-Saharan origin. That's
wow. Wow. You know, Prof, something that you said now makes sense, because if they have European blood, and we know who is supporting them in Nigeria, that all those documents that have been unpacked about the British, you know, and wow, that's a great connection, people, that the audience need to know about, you know, because I think, you know, there's also that connection to the Arab world through the religion and the extremist. And let me make it clear. Muslims are not an issue in Nigeria. We're talking about extremists, like those in Afghanistan. We're talking about extremists, not just your regular folks who are part of Islam. Okay, that's what we're talking about. But that is great information, you know, to really kind of clarify that. Now, let's talk about ranching. How is ranching done? How is ranching done in the U.S.? Do they go to farmers' farms and let their cows loose there?
No, actually, that was way back. I mean, people don't even practice that anymore. So usually, I mean, it's more of a kind of technological or an advanced way of of rearing cattle. Here you will have people have like they have their own like I'll say their own land where they actually rear and where they take care of their cattle. Their livestock don't wander into other people's neighborhoods or wander into other people's farmland or other people's properties. That is not done here in the US, and I believe that that's also the case in some other countries where even the products that are obtained from the cattle, where those are even huge, produce a huge amount of money to the economy, where it's even substantial, and they don't do open grazing. So how much does pastoralism or cattle rearing, how much does that even contribute to the Nigerian economy, to the point where it's now the cause of displacement for millions of Nigerians? So it absolutely makes sense.
For the killings, right?
Killings and displacement. It does not even contribute. I don't even know. I think that's something that we need to find out. How much does it even contribute to the economy that it has to really go to the point where the whole country is in disarray, because of their what they call their own livelihood. How does private businesses, individuals' livelihood should now impact the way people live in a country? So it's just, it's one of the lingering questions, and I know we will get into it.
Right. But in the U.S., as we know,
yes,
they've got deserts here, right? They have deserts in the US, and they
Yes,
have
ma'am.
ranches where they have cattle. In Texas, there's lots of desert
Absolutely.
land in Texas. In California, there's lots
Florida,
of desert land.
yes.
Yes, everywhere, right? But
In
they're not
Georgia, rural
going
Georgia.
onto other farmers' lands and taking the land forcibly, right? And then putting their cattle on that land and saying it is theirs. Citizen AY, are you able to talk? Because we'd like to ask a question about in England, and we know who's behind the Fulanis. In England, do they have their ranchers, their cattle rearers, move their cattle through the streets of London, defecating and destroying property? Do they have those cattle going through, other cities and farms and going into forests, right? Whatever forest that they see that belongs to the government or belongs to individuals, and taking it forcibly? Citizen AY, are you with us? I think he's otherwise engaged right now. We have things breaking regarding Sunday Iboho. But in England, as I've been to England, I have not seen a situation where the cattle rearers are doing what the Fulani are doing in sub-Sahara Africa, in West Africa. I have not seen that there, and no one would tolerate that. No farmer would tolerate a cattle rearer coming to their farm and pulling up their crops to feed the cattle, because the food production system would be badly impacted, right? It will start resulting in starvation, etc., right? And so that really isn't something that that will be good, and that doesn't happen. So let's ask the question: where are they now in West Africa? And why is the world putting out this false narrative? Because I'm calling it false for now, but we'll continue talking about it. Why are they putting out this narrative that the conflict in Nigeria is herder farmer? Why are they talking about that in Ghana it's herder farmer? In Central African Republic it's herder farmer, right? In Mali it's herder farmer. Why is that?
Well, Jane, you said, the last sentence that you made, that you stated before you went on to ask this question, you said that that you've been to England before, and I actually lived in England, before I came to the US, right? I never saw, cattle or livestock or those kinds on the roads. I didn't even know. I never even saw a period ever.
Exactly.
So yeah. So it's not. I mean, it's not done anywhere. Yeah. And so everywhere we go. So to now segue into what is going on in West Africa, every single country that you go in West Africa, where the Fulanis have been to, or where they are currently, trying to invade, it's the same issue. And they call it farmer herders clash. But it's the same issue, and it's a false narrative, like you said. It's a false label to somehow, remove people's attention from the main problem. Here is the main problem. The main problem is that you have a group of people who are not indigenous to a land, trying to now get over, bring themselves into other people's land. And, because we in Africa, generally, African cultures generally are very, people of African descent or African people are very accommodating, generally, which is one of the reasons why we got burned by accommodating Europeans, and this is where it landed us. But anyway, so we're very accommodating, generally speaking. So, so people who technically want to, accept this Fulani people, right? To come and, if we have all this land and we have a little that we can actually, allow you to use, we will let you. But that's not what the Fulanis want. And that is the problem. That is the main, they don't want a piece of your land and to negotiate it in a peaceful way and in a civilized way. There's this primitiveness about the way that they do things. And I'm sorry if I'm getting a little bit emotional. There's this primitiveness about it that, you know, somehow if I come to your land, I can kill you and take why do I need to manage a piece of it? Why don't I just kill you and take the whole thing kind of concept? And I'm saying that concept is the main problem. It is not no other farmers clash. It is actually the lack of respect for other people's boundaries, both geographical boundaries and personal boundaries. They just don't understand the concept of boundaries.
I think they understand the concept of boundaries, but they step over them purposefully.
Purposefully, and that's what I'm saying.
This is being done on purpose, right?
Exactly. So maybe I misspoke when I say that, when I said that they don't understand the concept of boundaries. They choose not to understand the concept of boundaries.
Because it is repeating, right?
Because it's repeating. It's a pattern. And I do have different, you know, like a video, you know, of complaints of people in different countries. In Ghana is the same thing. In Mali is the same thing. In Senegal is the same thing. In Gambia is the same thing. Even in Nigeria now is the same thing. So
can we take a look at some of those headlines, and then we'll play some of the videos as well? That would be fantastic.
Yes,
because people need to understand. This
yes.
isn't just a Nigeria problem. The Fulani menace, as it has been termed now repeatedly, is happening throughout Africa. And as I said, towards the end of the broadcast, we'll talk about how it is impacting Nigeria, what the Bauchi governor said about it, what the Buhari said about it, and to help us to kind of understand what is going on, right? So first of all, we know from all the information that they are not, you know, Prof gave us a really powerful message here about the fact that they are definitely not ancestral to the land, right? And we know that they came to Nigeria, you know, the earliest that we can think about is in the late 1700s, you know, with Ottoman and Fodio. It is quite possible that maybe a few of them have migrated before, but again, they're newcomers to the land when you really look at it from that perspective. So then, why is it that everywhere they go, we talk about herder-farmer conflict when human beings, hundreds and thousands of human beings are being killed? How is this okay for human beings to be killed so that cattle can live? I mean, we're talking about, you know, we have the story about the Trojan horses. This is the Fulani Trojan cows, because in this case, they're using the cows as a lead in. Is what it looks like, you know, because you see it repeating. So do you have those headlines, Modupe? I'm talking until you can bring it.
I'm trying to.
Yeah, once you have a few headlines so that we can take a look, so that people can understand we're not just talking about it. On this program, we really look to facts and share the facts about what's going on. So Central African Republic, Mali, Ghana, and I think, Modupe, we have that article from the Ghanaian journalist that actually, you know, said we need to use force to get these people out because they're killing people and destroying farms. We'll talk about that, you know, about that, what's happening in Nigeria too, along with that, you know. So again, what we're talking about is that this is widespread in West Africa. And while you are doing that, let me bring up the let me take a look at the headlines.
Did you give me the ability to share? Go on. Yes, I think you did.
Yeah, you are a co-host, so that should be there. But just to be sure, you know, let me just make sure that is set for. Yeah, you can share because you're a co-host. So if you're not ready, let me just go ahead and share.
Yeah, go ahead.
About the presidents, right? Let me go ahead and share that because I think it is important for our people to understand what their program really is. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
This is what the program really is. Take a look at this. 4 current West African presidents that are Fulani by tribe. Is that shocking to you that the people that don't own the land, they don't own the land, they have now concentrated themselves in Nigeria, Mali, Guinea, Cameroon, Senegal, and Niger. Niger. Is that where Buhari signed a refinery contract to refine in Niger and not to refine in the south of Nigeria, where the oil resides? Are you guys now seeing the connection, right? So as you can see, this is what is going on. Is this 4 current West African presidents that are Fulani by tribe? Is that shocking to you? What do you think?
Yeah.
Thoughts on that?
Yeah, actually,
These are people that are not indigenous. Why are the West African countries not putting criteria of who can lead the country, right? Here he is, Macky Sall, president of Senegal, Fulani, okay? And let's see, I'm just going down here just so that we can see.
Yeah.
This is Macky, okay, where are the other pictures? We're going too many to the one. So Ramadan Barak?
Ramadan Barak.
Yeah, okay.
Something like that. Yeah.
Adama Barrow, the Gambia, Fulani. Are they from Gambia? We need to have criteria that non-indigenous people cannot rule in West Africa, people, because this is what they do. They shift their people around from one place to the other, right? So, you know, they move their citizenship around so that they can capture the presidents, okay? The presidency. Guinea-Bissau, Omaro Sissoko Embalo, okay? Guinea-Bissau. Fulani, are they from Guinea-Bissau? Well, I mean, in I think the first place that they moved to was in Futajalan, which is but that's in the Gambia, not in the Guinea. But they've now moved into the Guinea and captured the presidency there. Okay, and of course, Buhari, their biggest prize to date, right? This is their biggest prize to date is Nigeria. What are West Africans doing? Why are we allowing non-indigenous people to rule our country and take over our resources, take our lives, our land, and give it to their people? There's a consolidation, people, that's going on in West Africa, as you can see clearly. So, Prof, what are your thoughts on this subject? Is this herder-farmer conflict, or are these invasions going on in the way that they are sitting on a lot of West African countries? And now Ghana is not on that list yet, right? Ghana is not on that list, but they're there, right? Mali, Central African Republic, because let's just talk about that.
As I say things, it is not a herder-farmer conflict. If at all, it is only made politically. The major problem is, it has been said already, the benevolence of the Black African society. That was what turned Egypt into what it is today. And that is what turned the society and the way we live in the south of the Sahara, it came to be. And if you look at the former colonies, France and Britain were competing actually for the territories in West Africa. And they chose by force the people they can work with easily. And it happens to be the Fulanis who really, I don't know if the time the colonialists came, if they had an agenda, but
okay,
as
so,
time...
Sorry.
Sorry?
Sorry, no, go ahead. Sorry, I clicked the wrong thing. Go ahead.
But as time went on, there is a, would I say collusion? No, there's an agreement between the Fulani and the colonialists so that it was easy for them to hand over the political and the economic power to the Fulanis because they had something I would call shifting responsibility. They were moving, and the time they governed one area and moved another place, they weren't a danger to the people colonizing and who wanted to stay in the area. That is with the former British colonies, the same, and the former French colonies. And the two of them have come to this unholy alliance in order to suppress the indigents. I can go ahead naming the generals, especially of the French army, those of them, and of the British army, those who drove away Prempeh, those who drove away King Jaja Fopobo, in order to make room for all these things. See, they were all working concurrently in order to suppress the people that is against them, and that those were the natives, the indigents of the country.
Wow.
And all the others, the Fulanis especially, were very accommodative to them and were their obedient servant.
Right, and I'm glad that you brought that up, because one of the things that we have that's been unearthed too is before that 1914 amalgamation, that there was a plan to enslave the native, not the Fulani, because the Fulanis are not native to Nigeria, right? So while we were celebrating independence, colonization was alive and well, right? Because we got the independence, and the indigenous nations, you know, the regions, the Western region, the Eastern region, the Midwest, you know, the Northern, and there were a couple of other regions like the Middle Belt that was supposed to be carved out as well. Thought they had independence. It was just a ploy, because in 1966, we know what happened, right? And we know who took over from that point on. So again, we're talking about, you know, is this Fulani killings around sub-Sahara Africa really herder-farmer conflict? Is that what it is? You know, or is it?
I have the Ghanaian thing now.
Okay,
sorry, I clicked the wrong. I was going to bring it on.
The Western world, right? But the Western world this is their narrative. Every single time, except for a few times when CNN, I haven't even seen BBC ever note that this is, you know, either it's a genocide of Christians and modern Muslims and others, but mainly they call it herder-farmer conflict, which doesn't make any sense. Go ahead, Madupe.
Yes, so I have the Ghanaian video right now. So I was going to bring it on, and then I clicked the wrong thing, and then I kicked myself out. So that was what happened.
I saw that.
Yeah, okay, so let me bring it up now. Okay, so I'm going to
$80 gadget. Just attach it to your hose and cut through dirt and grime in seconds. No more.
The Fulani people are a nomadic ethnic group that move with their cattle across West and Central Africa. But with population growth, there is less space for their herds to graze freely. That means they often come into conflict with owners of farmland who accuse them of trespassing and destroying their crops. Here's an example of how this dispute is playing out in Ghana.
Sambo is a Fulani herdsman in eastern Ghana. He owns thousands of cattle. They graze on lands like these, and that's creating problems with the locals who own the farmland. They are now retaliating. We don't have any other job. We raise livestock and farm at the same time to make a living. For many years, we've done this without issues, but in recent years, our cattle have been attacked and killed by locals and security forces. They are trying to destroy our livelihood.
You're destroying.
Sambo has lived here all his life. He was
Yeah, can I just say something and I'll continue? Do you know? I think there's something about the mindset that they are trying to kill their livelihood. But do you know that the crops, other people's crops that your cattle are feeding on is somebody else's livelihood? I mean, this is for me. This is the narcissism of their thinking, because they're so narcissistic. They only think about I, me, me, and they're not even thinking about the other people. You brought your cattle onto people's land where they have crops, right? That they've worked so hard. Some of them even took loans, right? To grow the crops. Now your cattle are feeding on on the crops, and you're saying that the people and you are questioning why the people were angry, right? So and that's what I'm saying. The false narrative that is herdsmen and farmers clash. It's not no herdsmen farmers clash. It is pure trespassing and you stealing from other people, and we should call it what it is.
It's a felony. It's a felony. It's murder. It's a felony because people are being killed.
That's what I'm saying.
Are being destroyed.
They have the mouth to say, "Oh, can you imagine?" I mean, it's like an armed robber going into somebody's home and saying, "Oh, the person hit me. Oh, they hit me. Oh, well, what are you doing there?" Right?
Yeah, my livelihood is being an armed robber, right? So they should let me rob, because if they don't let me rob, I am going to, they're preventing my trade.
Thank you. Thank you.
When you're actually the one who's the perpetrator, they're the perpetrators. They're the ones who are destroying. Let's talk about, the multiplayer. I know we're going to continue, but since we're talking about this, in Nigeria, 4 million, over 4 million people now have been displaced from their farmland. Over 4 million people. The Fulani herdsmen have displaced them from the farmland. In Benue State alone, it is shocking. We've seen that. And how has the government responded to this? How has the government responded to this atrocity, right? This is a felony. It's a crime. It is a crime. The government has never once called for anything to happen. So go ahead, Madipe, with the video so that people can see what's really going on. Nigerians need to understand,
just like his father,
right? Because if we don't bring all this information together to them, they will continue to see what the Western world and what the Fulanese around the world, as we can see, they're rising to power everywhere, right? 4 West African countries, that includes Nigeria, now have Fulani as presidents. Okay, so let's continue, Majupe.
He explains why he now feels threatened by the current hostilities.
Are you still there, Majupe?
I'm here.
Yeah, go ahead and continue the video.
Oh, the video is playing.
Yeah.
It's not, are you not seeing it?
No, I'm not seeing it.
Okay, so let me go back. Maybe I need to go back.
Yeah, okay. It was playing, but you have to be sharing. If you ended your sharing.
Oh, okay, but is this showing now?
Yeah, it is showing. Just go ahead and restart it. Go ahead and restart it.
Are you seeing my screen now, right? I mean, my screen now.
Just go ahead and restart it. Go ahead and start it. There you go.
Killing our cattle, but also shooting at our children and workers who herd the cattle. Some have even died. So now we Fulanis are scared. Sambo is not alone in this predicament. Today, he's attending a meeting with other Fulanis in his community. They often come together to discuss the challenges they face, sharing stories of discrimination and how they can stay safe.
Anytime we meet like this, we have been advising ourselves, we have been advising our children not to be quarreling with people or not be doing all evil things alone.
Some residents in the community say the problems with the Fulanis go beyond the destruction of the farmland. To be honest, if they want to appease the locals, they would have to stop committing crimes. There would be peace and unity among us in this community if some of them would stop stealing and doing other bad things. Experts say the lack of a proper land ownership system and a lack of community sensitivity have contributed to the conflict.
The lack of clear demarcation of where you can graze, where you can farm, is a major problem. So there's some form of competition for space.
This is a false narrative right
some of
here.
the zones. In other places, it's lack of information.
The government has struggled to come up with a solution. For now, Fulanis like Sambo pray for an end to hostilities to protect his livelihood and his family.
Africa. But with population growth, there is
so,
less space
I'm
for
going-
the herds to
We
graze.
can end, yeah, let's end this and talk about this, because this is part of the false narrative that we're talking about, right? The government is struggling to come up with a solution for people who don't own land against people who own the land. The farmer's land. The farmer was there first. He planted his crops there first. How then is it his fault that the Fulani herdsmen bring their cattle and feed them on his farm? How is that the farmer's problem? Why isn't the Fulani being told to purchase their own land and enclose their herd as has been done around the world? Why must we accommodate these barbaric methods that result in hundreds of thousands of human lives being killed and millions being starved, as is happening in Nigeria right now? Can we talk about that?
Yes, because in their myopic, corrupted mindset, every land on the West African coast, east of Guinea, the Futajalo Mountains of Guinea, was bequeathed to them by their grandfather, Othman Danfodio.
But did he own the land, Mr. Fageti? Did he own it? Did he purchase? Did he purchase the land for them?
He didn't own the land to begin with.
Exactly.
Yes, he didn't own the land to begin with. And that's why I said, just like you rightfully said, the false narrative.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, brought out of the myopic mindset that their grandfather, their myopic halal, okay, because there is the true Allah that the worshippers rightfully worship, and who recognize ownership through through proper bequeathing of estates, or purchase. But to them, wherever their grandfather and their fathers said belongs to them on the West African coast belongs to them. So they don't care what it takes. They don't care who has title to the land. They have a.
But why are these governments not making it clear? It's a very simple solution. Buy the land and enclose your cattle. That is the solution. Why are we kowtowing to the perpetrators? Is this because, as Prof had said before, that they have European blood in them and some Arab blood in them? Is this why they're getting preferential treatment against ancestral Africans? What is going on here?
Well, Jean, if I may, if I may just say quickly, see, just like you said they have some mixture of European blood or whatever.
And
they
Arab.
feel entitled. That's it. They feel entitled. They feel like, oh yeah, you know what? Because they feel entitled, and that's why they can quote, their grandfather's delusion, delusion that he has been willed a land that he never owned. I mean, that he has willed to them, land that he never owned. So, and that's the problem, you see. And again, and they keep saying this, and question again that you asked, that why are the governments of these countries also dancing to that tune? You answered it. A lot of them are Fulanis. And that's why what they're doing in a cunning way, they try to get themselves into the position of and just snatch power, when they snatch it from people, so that they can now implement their own, their delusion, of we own the land, so that they can implement it through their, their governmental power. But you see, in Ghana, the reason why they are not able to penetrate in Ghana is because, the Ghanaian society, if you see, it's like they already, they kind of nip it in the bud where, before it festered. Unlike in other countries where we were not very vigilant, and then they were already in before we realized what was going on.
Yeah, now let's talk about why these governments, right, in Ghana, for instance, right? Oh, let me leave the governments for now. The reporter himself, why didn't he say to this Fulani man, you do know that that farmer owns that land and has planted that crop for himself and for other people? Why isn't anyone, all these reporters, why isn't anyone asking them these questions? What is going on here?
Western ideas, you already said it. And they have the external factor. That's what it is. That's why. In my own 2 cents, that's what I think. But maybe other people may have, some other reasons why this is so.
Prof. Nyerebe, can you help us here? Because we have a situation that the perpetrators of crimes, of the destruction of the food chain, which in Nigeria has now driven, we've got hunger and starvation, because they are destroying the farm belt in the middle belt, especially in Benue. They're destroying all those farms and taking them over with impunity, meaning the government, the Fulani government led by Buhari in Nigeria, is letting them get away with that, right? But in Ghana, right, why aren't the government siding with the victims, who are the farmers that own the land, have planted their crops so that they can feed themselves and feed their families? Why are all these governments trying to kowtow to the Fulanis who don't own land, who are not from the land, but pretty much intruders? They're not even, a lot of them are not even immigrants. You have grazing routes. That does not give you rights. So can you help us with this? What is going on?
The whole thing, it is for me extremely difficult to look at what is happening at the moment, because it looks like a reaction about things that have been stagnating and nobody paid attention to over the years.
Absolutely.
Number one, I still go back to the colonial times, because they are the people who implanted this impunity. They were against organizations among the indigenous people, because every organization was seen as an opposition to the colonial government. And those communities, the Fulanis, for instance, who didn't have the sort of organization that would oppose the invaders. In my concept of invaders, I'll classify the British and the French, the Portuguese, and whoever that came on that term. It is easier for them, invaders, to understand themselves and suffocate every organization coming up among the indigenous people. For a farm, I live in Europe. I don't know anywhere in Europe where you can get cattle just cross the street. In fact, if the cattle herd is crossing the street, you have the police blocking the access to make sure that nobody is injured. And before you have a cattle, for goodness sake, you have to be registered. It has to be approved. The number of animals you're allowed to keep is prescribed. You must have a veterinary doctor to take care of it. And you must have the whole service chain up to the malls where you are going to sell the animals. You see, that is an organization. We don't have any such organization in any African community as far as distribution of food and food chain is concerned. And that means since the government don't make the effort to organize things so that they are equitable, every person feels obliged to do whatever he thinks is right. And now we come to the question, who has the money? Who can be bribed? And, you know, all these things come to mix up with so many things. Now, if you talk, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
It is difficult now for the indigenous people to organize themselves and say, look, we don't want all these cattle coming in. You see, they are doing it at individual level, but not at an organized level. And if you have a government that does not have rules to
that
make
is,
sure,
especially ours at this Fulani too.
Yeah, to make sure that there is some degree of order in whatever we're doing. You see, it becomes not just a question of survival of the fittest, but a survival of the powerful.
Exactly, exactly. And Joseph Carey, Dr. Carey, welcome and go ahead.
Oh, thank you very much, Jen, for this opportunity. I listened keenly to what Professor Aying was contributing. Sorry, Prof, for my butchering your name. It's a fact. It's the historical fact. It's just to add to what Prof said. You see, before the colonial masters came, the Fulani were also conquerors in the sense that they had upstaged the House chiefs, and they had implanted the emirate. Okay, in other words, so they had control over all the House, both the House, what we call the House of Bukwai and the Banza Bukwai, and also they had claimed, not that it was true that they had conquered a large swathe of Middle Belt. Not that they had done it, so they had actually had what we call Zango. I don't know if you hear of Zango. So wherever they had, if indigenous communities in Benue or especially in southern Kaduna were those, in order to fend off the jihad onslaught, they lived in near caves for natural protection. So if the jihadi man went and saw that there was the place had been abandoned, they put their flag, called a jihadi flag, and they established communities, what they call Zango. So by the time the superior conqueror came, the colonial master, because they had weapons more superior than the Fulani, so it was easier for them to understand each other. So you know, if you heard about the indirect rule and the direct rule, you know, whilst it was not successful in the southeast in particular, because already, they had a lot of rebellion against it. It was more successful in the north because already there was a system of subjugation, control, land control. The houses were now seen as serfs. They were slaves to their own land.
Yes.
So every community, every traditional emirates and the branch emirates or the district level, was the emir would send their own kids and kins to rule. Now, so it was easier for the colonial masters to use them easily and do the indirect rule, and so that they could usurp or get the resources over to Europe, for example. So that history, that compromise, that conspiracy worked well both for the Fulani and for the colonial master. And of course, you know that's why the handover, the independence was a lot easier to hand over power to a Fulani-controlled government. Yes. Now, the Civil War, I want to let you know, it's actually itself a jihad, a continuation of jihad.
Yes.
Nothing more, nothing less.
Yes.
The only way for them to convince the world that it was not a jihad was to foist Yakubu Gowon as the head of state.
Exactly.
To claim that it's a Christian, therefore it's not a Christian war.
Exactly.
But it's a purely jihadi onslaught against the Southeast. And who did they use against the Southeast? They used Christian soldiers, okay, from the Middle Belt, okay, to go and fight each other.
Yes.
So that once they were doing that, they were taking over the properties of the Igbos. They were taking the land and also taking the land of the indigenous Middle Belters as well.
Exactly.
Okay.
And
So
they still are. They still are, as we know, right? That's happening.
So it is. This is the reason now to answer the question: why is this government? This government is a perpetuation. This government, they are beneficiaries of jihad. They went into the military to serve the purpose of the caliphate. Buhari went to the military to serve the purpose to champion the cause of the caliphate. They and so they are there to continue with what the so-called forefathers had vowed and had pledged the land to be there. So they would not, instead of fighting, bring in law and order. There's no law and order in this government. There is no rule of law. It's been completely thrown out. So the main reason, when there's chaos in dictatorship and jihad, when there's chaos, it allows the Grand Master to perpetuate their agenda. But if there's order, then of course you challenge that. All right, and so on.
Right,
so, and sorry, just maybe why did we have a the Chief Justice as a Sharia Sharia person? It's all part of the game plan to ensure that the land grabbing, because jihad has five. There's the religious bit of it. There's the economic bit of it. There's the political bit of it. So these three things are not separable. You and I may say, okay, you can separate being a Christian from being a politician, but a jihadi person, they believe in theocracy. The emir is next to God.
Yeah.
All right. So the land belongs to him. Okay. Right. And he chooses to give who he wants to give to. So the indigenous people of Middle Belt are infidels. They don't deserve the land. They're meant to be conquered by force, and hence the Sharia law, which has been the main rule now in Nigeria.
In the 12 contiguous states, exactly. But they have also put that in the Constitution. Okay, so let's kind of bring all of this together, because I mean, this is great for our people to know. I mean, this is vital information, right? Because we have seen, I'm sure a lot of people didn't even know. But do you have that the four presidents that were talked about? That is from Senegal to Guinea-Bissau to you know, and this is what is going on. I mean, you see, here it is. Fulani herdsmen with AK-47s. Is that not what they're using in Nigeria? And this is in Central African Republic, right? This is what is going on around West Africa.
Yeah, so this is the Buhari, you know, his pronouncements, but I have the one for Kai if you want me to bring that.
Yeah, no, okay, let's go ahaid and talk about it. We can go ahead and talk about this now, right? Because one of the things that we've been talking about is that Bauchi governor, right, Bello, that said that all Africans are citizens of Nigeria. That was in 2019, wasn't it? And do you want to read what Buhari had to say? And this was 2022, right?
All Fulanis.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, all Fulanis. Exactly. All Fulanis are citizens of Nigeria.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, are you?
Let's see what Buhari had to say about that.
So he said something here. I cannot refuse to say I am not one of them, but he's been very unfair to me. And I told him that the Nigerian cattle rearers are not carrying anything more than a stick, sometimes a machete to cut trees. Mm-hmm. This is what they are saying, right? But we know that that's not the truth.
Yeah, now, that is true. That is true.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, no, what you're saying is true. You're correct.
Yes, exactly. So, you know, so he's saying that, you know, they are, and you know, Buhari was saying that, oh no, they are not Nigerians. They are Fulanis from other places. But it's difficult to be able, I mean, it's difficult for us to, to differentiate them, those who are not from Nigeria and those who are not. So for that reason, I cannot really do much, except to look for a way to create an open grazing, create like a path for them so that they can graze their land. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, can you please read that again, Modupe? Please read that again, what he said.
Yeah, so
in a sovereign state.
Because he said there, Modupe, he did say there that they are not Nigerians, there's foreigners. If you can look for that.
Yes, he said that. Yes, he said, but those with it. So he said that the ones who are carrying the sticks, right? That Fulani, the one that a lot of them, the ones that are from Nigeria, that they mainly carry their sticks and their machete. But the ones who are carrying AK-47 are those they are Fulanis from Mauritania, from Central Republic of Africa or Central African Republic. They look the same, so they would think they are Nigerians. So you're trying to, hold on, like who would think that they are Nigerians? Is it them that are saying they are Nigerians? But it's like, remember the Benue State governor said, not Benue, I'm sorry, the Bauchi State governor said, oh, the ones, the Fulanis from outside of West Africa, they can speak Bayelsa language.
Yes.
So it's like they are making the case for them that, they are actually the same as us. So they look like us. They are the same like us. So then he said, but I assure you, we are trying to sustain these cattle routes.
Right. But one of the things that I wanted to point out is that Bauchi governor said that all Fulani around Africa are citizens of Nigeria. But
yes,
Buhari
he did.
Is saying
you wanted to bring that video up?
No, I just want to talk about what Buhari, because I think we've talked about that,
Okay.
But Buhari is saying that they are not, the people who are committing the crimes are not Nigerian Fulani. They are other Fulani from other African countries. So how do you reconcile that?
Oh, he said that.
We're playing hard and fast here, right?
It's a strategy. Yes. It's a takia. It's what we call it, takia strategy. Jihadis have the only way they can delude themselves or deceive those who believe in them, because unfortunately there are lots of so-called Nigerians from the middle belt, from the southeast and the southwest, who still believe in this delusion. Who still believe that they mean no harm. But actually, it's a deceit. I mean, of course, one of the best ways a jihadi can conquer is to claim innocence, to claim naivety. It's not me. Exactly. They work hand in hand. You are there. If you watch the 2019 campaign, his kids and kin from Niger Republic came to Katsina. They have allegiance. Buhari's allegiance is fundamentally to his kids and kins in the Niger Republic and other parts of Africa than any other person in Nigeria. Okay, why is the railway line being constructed to Niger Republic? It's to link their kids and kin. So it's made deceit. It's made deceit. So they have to speak and confuse us. 1 minute, the Sultan of Sokoto will say, yes, 90% or 99% of the people who are committing the crime and killing are Fulani people. Yes. So we don't care whether they are in Nigeria or the one from outside. They are the same. They have the same agenda. They are actually the informants. They are the ones that invite them in. Buhari is one of which does that. So it's made deceit. Thank you.
Yeah, but this is one of the things that is perplexing, right? If the ones who are carrying the AK-47s are the criminals, why isn't the Nigerian government? It's either if you're carrying a machete, you're a peaceful person who has settled in Nigeria, right? But if you're carrying AK-47, you're a foreigner. Why hasn't the army and the police, when they catch those with those AK-47s who are proliferating everywhere, walking around with it, right? Why haven't they arrested them? Because they're the foreign Fulani. And so what I'm trying to say is that Buhari has established that foreign Fulani are not Nigerians, regardless of what Bala Muhammad, whatever his name is, Bala Muhammad, right? Regardless of what he says, right? Foreign Fulani are not citizens of Nigeria. The president of Nigeria has said so. The Constitution, even though it's fraud, also says so, right? Right?
Good afternoon to you all. Good evening to you all. Sorry, but I had to just, I was in and out a lot. But I've been following what's going on, and I am very much in support of what has been discussed here in terms of the Fulanis, and especially the excuse, unwillingness, or we're not prepared to accept the excuse of the Buhari government or Boala Mohammed or whoever they are from the Fulani side, telling us, oh, I mean, the incredulity of President Buhari saying, oh, they are foreigners from another country. What are they doing in your country? What is your responsibility? Your number one responsibility as the president of Nigeria should be to ensure that that integrity includes the safety and security of the people within your borders. You shouldn't be sitting down telling us, oh, by the way, oh, they are from Cameroon, oh, they are from this. That is not your concern. Your concern are the people within the borders of Nigeria. The minute they fail to do that, it is like him saying, I am not aware. Honestly, it's equivalent to him saying, I am not aware that these people are coming to our country, taking our land.
My brother, it is even worse. My brother, it is even worse. He said that I assure you that we'll create grazing routes. So it's not even worse. I mean, it's not even looking the other way.
No.
He's saying, I'm going to enable them. I'm going to give them land. So that's what he's saying. It's even worse than him looking the other way. He's actually saying, I'm going to help them.
And that is the thing. Dr. Joseph Carey, welcome on board, and good evening to you as well. I'm sorry I didn't get to join it. I only caught the end of your discussion there, and that's very, very, very reasonable. What you put forward, sir, is very, very reasonable, and it is a reasoned argument, one that you can see a thread running through it. You cannot see a thread running through what a whole president of that contraption. You cannot see a thread to say, okay, this thread is leading to him supporting Nigerians. The thread is going one way, to support foreigners, empower foreigners within the country. How can you tell me to believe in one Nigeria unless you're telling me to believe in it, knowing that at my expense and my ancestral expense, these people will come in, take our land, and nothing. There'll be no consequences to them. We cannot carry on like this. Is not, to be honest, we should all be outraged. And it is time for us. I highlighted
something for us.
Thank you.
Just to buttress your point. You see how the locals, this is in the middle belt of Nigeria. They're saying that the militants, they will come to the village at night. So if you want to come peacefully into somebody's land, right? Would you come at night to come and invade the villages? Come on now. So how can you tell me those are farmers' errors clash? I mean, clash.
No, it is not.
How can you call that a clash?
It is a narrative. Go ahead, yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
In the last 1 month, in a community, in a tier community in southern Kaduna, for 1 month, they went night by night killing the indigenous people, displacing them. The military post was there, but the military post in southern Kaduna is meant to protect only the Fulani enclave, the emirate in Kafancha and the Zango in Zango. And when the youth who are trying to defend their community, I have records here of names that the army turned fire against the youth trying to voluntarily defending their community from the onslaught of the Fulani. And so, and the governor is aware of it. The president is aware, and you will never hear a word from Buhari, empathizing or the governor saying anything about it. And the army is there, there's the army post, but they turn a blind eye, they collude with the military. I'm talking about last month, and they kill these young boys who are just voluntarily protecting their community without being paid. They had slaughtered them, the army. Now, not just anytime the young boys are having an upper hand against the invaders, the military come in to stop them, and so that they can kind of empower the Fulani invaders, the militias, and that's what's going on. Even I said this year, the last month, 1 month.
Do Do you know that was what happened in Central African Republic? Because people got tired of the whole thing. You know, they got tired, and that actually led to the president. Actually, let me pull that up real quick. The president had to run, right? And I believe is Baba Faleti there, because I think he knows that story very well. But I also have something here that I'm going to pull up from the car.
Thank you.
Events. Yes, go ahead.
Yes, the Futajalon agenda crosses the whole gamut of West Africa. And they have systematically, over the years, infiltrated the Central African Republic political system and the military system also. So much so that when the Fulani army officer, I can't remember his name now, stayed the coup back in 2003 and became the leader of the country. But then the people, somebody was saying something about Sango. Sango and the Tuaregs are the original indigents of the Central African Republic. But because Africans in general are very hospitable, they allow the Fulanis to come in and settle the same way that we've done in southern Nigeria. But they didn't come in to settle; they just came in to prepare a place
to take the land, take it over.
Exactly, to take over the land. So eventually, they had an election where that Fulani Bozos or something is the name. Eventually ran and became president. Yes. And then in 2011, the youth rose up because this president usually used to be the military officer. So the army was behind him. But when the youth rose up, it was a revolution carried out by sticks, machetes, and ding guns, and drove the president out of that country in 2011. It's the remnants of those Fulanis that eventually started migrating.
That's it.
Quietly to Nigeria, beginning about 2015. Yes. See.
So there is a connection between what was happening in Central African Republic and Nigeria.
Absolutely.
And Chad.
Yes. And Chad.
And Mali as well.
Yes, Mali as well. And guys, one of the things that Papa Faleti said that's very important, the youth rose up.
The youth
rose up and liberated their country. Again, let me say this, and I know I keep repeating this. Every West African country needs to go and change their constitution to see that these people cannot be in their army. They cannot be in their government, because we see this happen. And I'm saying this because of what is going on. It's one thing in America where people come and it's a melting pot. That's not what's happening in West Africa.
No.
We get invaded. And what they do is they move their people from one country to the other to change the demographics, capture the military, capture the government, and then start ruling. Four West African countries are being ruled by Fulani.
The difficulty
they will be part of the OIC, right? The Organization of Islamic Countries, and they are part of supposedly the multi-regional joint forces, which has no Christian country in it. These are facts that our Nigerians need to understand, okay? And I think we're going to have like mini shows where we take each of these things, just kind of package them together and run them through one after the other so people can really see what's going on. But the youth need to take note. They rose up with their sticks, their machetes, their their bows and arrows, and they chase those people out.
The complexity, Jen, about Nigerian situation is that at the moment, the presidency, the military is in the hands of the caliphate. In the hands of the caliphate. The resources, all the military hardwares are not in the south anymore. They have been moved to the caliphate area.
Right, but that was the situation in the Central African Republic.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? And the youth had to rise up, right?
Yeah.
Not that the adults are not going to join in.
Where I'm trying to drive at is the complexity, and I'm not being pessimistic. I'm trying to tell you the reality is the synergy, because whilst in Bongi, maybe if we probably need to look at the demography or the complexity of ethnicity. The problem we have in Nigeria is the lack of synergy between the different divides, But youth in different communities are now united to fend off this onslaught. But I think that they need to galvanize them at probably a national level. It has to be done at a national level because in the only way you can stop it as it now is sadly most of the political so-called political elite in the Southwest in particular and in the Southeast, they go to the Emirate Council, the Caliphate, to get endorsement, to get a blessing, to offices, and they spend billions. And millions of naira. They bribe them. They spend a lot of money to be able to perpetuate what is happening. Is that lack of education? I don't know. I don't know what it is, or they've been blindfolded, or what is it that they see it? So I think that's more complex to deal with, unlike Central African Republic. I have followed the trend. Yes.
Thank you, sir. I wouldn't go so far to say that it's complex. Maybe I would say it's unique, but it can be managed. Okay. Right. If there's such a thing as complexity, is the influence of the corrupt politicians in the South, the so-called enemies from within. Okay. So if we can galvanize, there's something that minimizes the complexity now is the recognition of the West that we are part of the pie that did not break the hegemony back in 1967. Because and I apologize if I'm opening old wounds, because the 1967 only failed because the West did not realize what our eyes are now open to, thanks to Chief Sunday Igboho. If we realized it then, we will have cut the snake at the head right there and then. In fact, by that in 1967, there would have been the end of what they call the Hausa Fulani, because the Hausa would have been energized to rise up and say, no, you don't belong here, and drive them back further north into the desert. So the only thing that it introduces any complexity into the equation is the enemies from within and within us. So if we can find ways to get rid of those and support our causes, then of course we can unanimously tackle and break the neck of the Fulani hegemony.
I guess if I could just come in here. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much for your very, very valid contributions in this discussion. If I may just chip in a little bit. One of the things that I really want to go back to, and I can see, what's her name? Jean is there as well. I wanted to just touch back on what Jean said before. You see, we have to now look at this issue not only as a Nigerian problem, it is a West African problem. And I think until we begin to do that, if we are trying to, you see, the problem has been up to this point, each of the nations, so-called nations, and I use the word nations advisedly because we did not create those nations. Those were constructs by the Berlin Conference. But let's put that to one side. What has been happening up to this point has been many of the countries, Central African Republic would have a problem with Fulanis. They will face it themselves. Chad will have problems with Fulanis. They will face it themselves. Ghana will have problems with the Fulanis. They will face it themselves. Now, Nigeria has a problem with Fulanis. They face it themselves. Until we decide to have a meeting whereby, and we would have to have a discussion that is West Africa wide, because the problem is we are simply ignoring and allowing these people room to go, and when they move somewhere, we don't connect and actually prevent them from actually destroying the next area. We only focus on that area and, oh, it's solved. No, they come out somewhere else. If you put out the fire in one place and you think it's over, and you don't put a root stop to the root of this fire going across to other places, it will just shoot up somewhere else. That's exactly what is happening with us. And I think really we cannot do this. We have to recognize that we cannot do this alone. We cannot. And please, I want to add something else to all of this. The Fulanis have got their proxies in a lot of this war. Their proxies in another way in this European construct. So what we are facing is multifaceted. Please, when I'm saying this, it doesn't mean that we should get perplexed that, oh, how do we deal with this? No. We need to know the extent of the problem we face, and then we can begin to cut it down into sizable chunks for us to deal with it. So some people we will put in the areas whereby they're dealing with things from that West African point of view. Others will be looking at it from the point of view of state basis. And those two interlinking all the time. All the time we are cutting the exit route for this thing to happen. But it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. Joseph Kiari is very, Dr. Joseph Kiari is, honestly, I very much like what I'm hearing from you. And it's something that we could build on. And I think if we have a joint, truly joint and multifaceted approach to this problem that we have across West Africa, because we're saying now four of the presidents, 4 of them are Fulanis, and they are not majority in those countries.
No,
okay.
They're not.
My apologies. I like that idea. Are we in a position then to start galvanizing a coalition of non-Fulani governments in West Africa to start this conversation?
I don't think we can have that discussion here now. I don't think so.
Let's not have that discussion here.
Yeah.
We're gonna have.
Let's go.
We are getting together to talk about little strategies. Okay, so let's not talk about that here. Let's just.
Well, anyway, it was just a little side thing to make us look at the bigger picture. But of course, our focus still remains going back to exposing the fraud of this governance.
Right. I mean, that's a germane point, right? Because that's part of freedom is the court of public opinion. Okay. Part of freedom is always the court of public opinion is always relevant in getting freedom. And I'll say this again, as I've said before, all the research shows that if Biafra had the right friends and had the right court of public opinion early, they would have succeeded. Right. And so we cannot make the same mistake.
No.
Okay.
No.
We need to have the strategy of our friends who, whether, the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Yeah.
The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Is the concept that we need to engage in with a problem that we face. Right. And so that's very important.
I quite appreciate that thinking. And there is something that's happened in Central African Republic now that I'd like to go into, but I don't want to do that on air. Let's look at that another time, maybe, and that is something that is very, very important here. And I think we are coming to the point where we're realizing that this is not something that we can do by ourselves. It needs that coalition, that joint thinking, joint action. Of course, that doesn't mean that the work we're doing to raise the awareness in each of our communities, in the South, must not diminish. They have to go hand in hand. If anything, we actually have to to build that up more and continue to raise their level of awareness. And believe you me, I'm hearing some things that what we are doing is actually panicking the government. The discussions we're having here, people are saying, "Oh, these guys, we don't want them talking about that," because they don't want us to open the minds of the people. So
Thank
what
you,
we're
my brother.
doing,
Actually, I want to piggyback on what you said. Really, you brought up a very, very important point. Honestly, that this problem is not just a Nigerian problem. It's not just a Yoruba or or Igbo or, or Middle Belt problem. It's actually a West African problem. And so the reason why these people have been able to cover much ground, the Fulani, is because, each time they're attacking a set of people or a country, the other countries look the other way, like, well, it's not our business, they are not here. So then once they are done there, or once they were pushed out of there, or if they conquer there, then they move on to the next one and the next one and the next one. Because I do know that, back like in the early 2000s and even mid 2000s, we were hearing of all the, the Central African, the problems there, the Fulani problems there, but it's because it hasn't really become a problem in our land, So we were like, okay, well, that's their issue. Even when they started from northern part of Nigeria, right? We were still looking the other way. And that's how they are now next door to us. And then we're suddenly awake. So very good that you brought up that point. Yes, we should continue our grassroots, our grassroots outreach right now that we're trying to do, right? But it's something that we should have in the long run, that we should partner with other countries, other settlements in West Africa because we're in the same boat. We really are in the same boat. It's just a matter of time before they get to the next location. So I think in the long run, it's something that we should put on our radar, to say in the long run, this is what we're going to do, so that we can actually totally, get to the root of the problem. Because right now, if we walk around the problem, we're still gonna come back to encounter it. So yeah.
Thank you, Madikwe. Thank you. That's a brilliant observation. That's exactly it. The same strategy in West Africa is the same strategy in Nigeria. The Middle Belt had been going through this for decades. It peaked with the coming of Buhari, of course, and some of us knew that it's going to peak, and we warned the people, they didn't listen. But the Middle Belt had, I personally, and I'm not afraid of saying it on there, it took me 30 years to fight a Fulani chief in my own village. Wow. 30 years.
30 years.
30 years to single-handedly fight him to get over our land, which is my father's land. Wow. The chief there, galvanized people to beat up my dad and lynched him, and that resulted to his death eventually.
Wow.
Sorry to hear that. Whoa.
On that.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
I know we try to let the people know they didn't understand what we're going through. It's not
this issue is very personal to you.
No, it is. For me,
wow.
It is personal.
Wow.
So it's not just a hearsay. I have, only in 2019 that we finished the last court case to get a piece of land that I bought since 1986. Only in 2018. That's the last. I hope that's the last case. But I can't count how many times we've been to court to fight. Wow. Okay. So that's so the expansion
this is sobering.
The expansionist tendency of the Fulani is something that has been there. We know it. The Middle Belt, I'm just talking about myself. In that same village, there are countless helpless people, even before Buhari's regime, that have lost their land. Now they are living there. They have to borrow the land that is meant to be theirs. They have to go and kind of lease it. Thank you. Okay. And then you have to every year. Yeah, you have to every year.
That's happening in Benue State too.
Yeah. So you have to every year now go and give something to the chief if you want to farm the land. My father resisted it, and that's what cost his life. In some of us continuing with the fight. By coming over to the UK has helped to a large extent to continue with the fight. Wow. It took me decades to convince my very close friends who are from the Southwest, who were born and brought up in the same community, to even enlighten them about my plight. It took me, I could not succeed to permeate the elitist political class. The late deputy governor of Kaduna State happened to be a personal friend of mine, whose land these people that have been taken over for years by the Fulani. And he did nothing about it. Okay. Wow. I'm just telling you how bad it is. I'm just telling you something that had been there for decades. But I'm glad that there's awareness now. The Southwest is getting aware. The Southeast is understanding our plight, and if we come together and find this deadly poison.
Okay, guys, we're going to be rounding up. This has been a really eye-opening conversation.
It
That's
is
why we have
incredible.
these programs, because these are the ways that we determine how we win. Because a lot of times when I have personally talked to people to try to explain to them that strategy, they don't understand it. And that's why we're digging deeper, going behind the scenes and looking at what's actually going on. And that leads us to the path that we need to follow so that people can come along with us. Okay. So now the question is, true or false? The killings by the Fulani in sub-Sahara Africa is herder-farmer conflict. From Anyanwu, is it true or false?
False.
Okay.
No, it's Professor Anyanwu.
The Fulani killings in sub-Sahara Africa. Just herder-farmer conflict, true or false?
That is probably a false narrative.
I think we are all agree that it is extremely false, not just false, but extremely falsehood. Yeah. And so one of the things that I mentioned to earlier, Mojope, is that reporter was asking the question, but did not ask the Fulani man, how have you considered the fact that you are on somebody else's land, destroying his livelihood? Why aren't the reporters in Africa, around the world, asking those true questions? Is this about terrorism? Is terrorism the fact that the Fulani constantly unleashing terror or menace, as they call it, on people up and down the aisle? Is that why everyone is shying away from this real topic? This is something that we have to really look at. This is an aspect of it that we have to look at and really try to find a solution to as we move forward. But one of the things that is clear today is that there is no herder-farmer conflict in Nigeria, in Ghana, in Central African Republic, in Mali, and all these places where this is happening. All that is going on is that we have the Fulani coming in to take over land that they don't own, and they're doing it with force and killings of the indigenous people. I think that it's clear why, and now we need to make sure that we reach out to CNN, to the BBCs, to the Al Jazeera English, to Vanguard in Nigeria, to the newspapers around the world, and provide them with the evidence that said herder-farmer conflict is BS. That's fake news. Herder-farmer conflict is fake news.
It's a narrative that's being used to protect our land.
Narrative.
Herders in your country destroying farmers' lands. There's land to be bought in Nigeria, right? So I just want to have everyone say, take a minute, say your last few words and your comments to encourage our people and to also give them messages around what they need to do. They need to be talking to the governors, right? To tell them, resist the Fulani colonization in your state that they have put in an amendment into the Constitution. Those governors need to resist that. And those governors in the alliance territory need to be the transition government. You need to be on the side of your people, not the invaders, the perpetrators, and not the people that you keto to. You're there to take responsibility for your people. Okay, Mojope, final words.
Yes, thank you, Jean, and thank you everybody for your contributions. So to everyone that have been listening to our discourse here, there is nothing like herder-farmers clash. What we have going on is land grab. Again, I repeat, it's land grabbing by the Fulani, because everywhere they go, problem follows. I mean, different ethnicities move from place to place. We have, like in Lagos, I'm from Lagos, for example, we have a huge Igbo population in Lagos. We never heard of them getting somewhere, getting to Lagos, and then people are dying and killing people on the land. They will come and lease if they need to lease the land, if they need to use it for their business. But they are not telling people to move away from their land so that they can now do their businesses there. So as Jean said, all reporters, when you talk to these people and they tell you that, people are preventing us from our trades. People are preventing us from moving from earning our livelihoods, which is, cattle rearing. Nobody is preventing you, right? What about the people whose land your cattle are feeding on whose crops your cattle are feeding on, right? What about those people? Is that not their livelihoods also? So those are questions that need to be asked. So if they tell you, if the Fulani invaders tell you that, that we are fighting because people are trying to prevent us from earning our livelihood, well, you ask them, on whose land are you? On whose land are you trying to earn your livelihood? Have you done the needful to make sure that your cattle can actually graze on those on those lands? You need to, if you need the land, then you need to do the needful. You cannot say that people should just willy-nilly accept. You can't just willy-nilly choose somebody's land and say you want to rear your cattle, or you want to feed your cattle feed your cattle with their crop, and then not even think about the owners of the land, because they too are losing, because their crops are being destroyed unnecessarily. So yeah. I'm just going to leave it there. Yes, yes, we have Fulani problem, and the problem is not farmer herders clash. The problem is land grabbing. Thank you.
Okay, Citizen AY.
Okay.
Your final thoughts.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for this. What I want to just quickly reiterate again, it's very much in the lines of what Dr. Modupe has outlined. Many of the problems that we face here are from the non-indigenous Fulanis taking over our land. And what is more, when we have situations where there's damage to our crops, there's fatalities, killings of our farmers, there is no compensation scheme put in place by the Fulani Caliphate. But if you kill one cow in the south, in the Atlantic Territory, if you kill one cow, they will get compensation. Even you're hearing that they're giving them land in Kaduna, for example. These are telling us that as people, those who are non-indigenous to our land consider their right to be more and indeed superior to those to whom the land belongs, which is yours and my ancestors in the south. These are the realities that we face. I urge us, please, we cannot ignore that. Many of us, we are incredible in the South. Actually, when you think about those who succeed in the South, we are actually incredible, because the obstacle that has been placed in front of us is almost insurmountable. But now it has come to the point where if we are not careful, even those who are succeeding now will be enslaved forever. And now, for the coming generation, we must speak up. We need to put a stop to this injustice. This cannot go on. We see the injustice with our eyes. You heard Dr. Joseph Carey here, talking about his personal, how this has affected him personally. And I was moved to tears. I was crying inside. I don't know about you, but I was crying inside when and I thank you for sharing the story, because there's stories like that that makes us understand the enormity of the danger that we face. His own dad killed, unthinkable stuff. And we must really understand that as Southerners, that is what each and every single one of us faces. Unless we begin to work together, we must make sure that that narrative that this farmer had a crest, it's a fallacy, it's a falsehood, it's a narrative that's being used to not address the issue of the of the imposition of the non-indigenous people on our lands across the South. We must stop. We have to put a stop to all of these rugged territories that they're trying to put in place. The governors, each of the people within the state, you have to make sure that your governors, your senators, your House of Reps, they begin, and House of Assembly, particularly the House of Assembly, you need to start putting pressure on them to start passing laws to counter this rugged attempt by the federal government. You need to take that action, and it needs us to continue to get out collectively to speak about this. I could go on more, but I will just stop for now. Thank you very much, Jane. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Majuba, if you could please ready the Danjuba's video for the end, that would be perfect, because we'll end after that, because that's really important for people to understand what he is saying. Okay, Daddy Faletti, final words.
Thank you, ma'am. Just want to summarize a little bit of what Dr. Duper and Ewa have said. The atrocities that we experience from the Fulanis are only symptoms of the bigger Futajalon agenda to make Nigeria, in particular, the Fulani Caliphate capital. Now, the Fulanis are, in one part, proxies for the indirect rulers, the Western colonial masters, Britain and France in particular. I must say, it needs to be said, they're first proxies for those who are benefiting surreptitiously from the land gains on their part, and also, second and most importantly, the Fulanis are the co-conspirators who are on a mission to fulfill their so-called Danfodio agenda to colonize and make Nigeria the Fulani capital of the world. Actually, they've verbalized it so many times. So as long as we put that in the forefront of our thinking, it's much easier to recognize why we have the problem. And the government is complicit in it, because in the process of pulling the land grab apparatus together, they have carefully ingrained themselves into the military, gone through the ranks, and then ingrained themselves into the political system, so that now they can turn around one day and ask everyone to turn in their arms and ammunition. And the Fulani herdsmen that I grew up with, carrying sticks in those days, are now able to walk around with AK-47s, so that, because they will need that to be able to fulfill their agenda. And that's what we need to wake up to, and not be hoodwinked into thinking that we have a leadership problem. No, we don't have a leadership problem. Get rid of the Futajalan agenda, and then we'll pick better leaders. And if they turn out to be bad, we can get rid of them on our own. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, sir. And I have the video up. So
yeah, wait. Let's let everyone talk, and then we'll talk about that. I see that other people have joined that I didn't see.
Okay,
Dr. Carey, your final words, please.
Yes,
one of the things that is really important,
yes.
Daddy Faletti, I mean, when you speak, there's so much wisdom there. And we really need to pay attention to the things that you're saying. And not that everybody here isn't saying a lot of wisdom. Everybody is. That's the thing. This has been such a great show. So, Dr. Carey, if you may.
Thank you very much. My last words for today is that what the Middle Belt have been going through, it's now gone to the stage of genocide. It's actually not a conflict, so it's false narrative, because when you have families in the recent months been wiped away, literally wiped away, in communities being decimated, and the people living in camps for months and years since 2015, it has gone beyond. It's not a conflict. It's never been a conflict. It's about control, land grabbing. It's genocide, displacement of indigenous inhabitants of a land. I want to speak to my brothers in the Southwest and the Southeast, not to believe any other narrative, because the Middle Belt, especially Kaduna, it's actually the testing ground. They experiment everything there. And if it works there, and as it does seem to be, then it will be replicated all over, especially in the South. So it's time to stand up against this wicked agenda that had been there for decades, but now has been perpetuated and has peaked. They aren't stopping until we stop them. You have to stop the invaders. Don't expect the invaders to stop. And I want to plead with our brothers in the South. You have all the intellect, you have all the resources, the education to rise up against that. And together, we can win this war. Posterity, our children would not forgive us if we don't do anything about it. This evil agenda, this genocide, this land grabbing has to stop, and we have to stop the wicked narrative. Hopefully, we reach out to the the media, especially the global conspiracy, the BBC, the CNN. There's a conspiracy of silence all over. Nothing heard about the massive killings going on, the thousands and thousands that are dying. And I hope that we'll be able to permeate the media to know the world will know about what is happening. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much for that. And yes, it's not just that they think that they have proven it in the Middle Belt. Yeah. And it has now moved to the South. You see all the killings, unknown gunmen, bandits, kidnappers, Fulani herdsmen, killing in the Southeast, Southwest, and it's moving next to the South. And they have said in the video that we watched from Akintoye, right? And from Melafia, actually, it was Melafia that said so, that they are going to start from the rural areas. We've seen that. Yeah. And then they're going to move into the cities and start killing randomly, right? That's the plan, people. That is the plan, and it is being executed before our very eyes with the complicity. If the governors and the House of Reps and senators will say after today that they do not know what the plan is, after all this information that we have put out there, all this information that so many people have lost their lives over putting it out there, obviously that's highly disingenuous. Highly disingenuous. Because we need to know that this problem is greater than Nigeria. They are circling West Africa to colonize West Africa for the European masters because we have the resources. So I'm going to give another person a chance here. Let's see. I see that
Dr. Anyanwu, Professor Anyanwu.
Paul, did you want to make a contribution?
What about Professor as well? Professor Anyanwu.
No, let me listen. No, thank you.
Okay, so let us run the video.
What about Professor Anyanwu? Professor Anyanwu.
I think I started with him.
Oh, okay.
I can only make a few.
But Prof, go ahead if you want to say something. Paul, I see that you're here also. If you want to make some final comments, we only have a couple of minutes, and then we're going to be going on. So this is your opportunity.
At the moment, I would say.
Thank you.
Hold on. Go ahead, Prof, and then Paul will come to you.
The final comment has never come. We are in a flowing river, and the water is flowing.
And the soap is getting into our eyes.
Yeah. I find it extremely distressing that at the time when the Buhari government disarmed the Nigerian indigenous nations,
yes,
only very few people actually thought that he was going to introduce or reinforce the Fulani hegemony. Every person was hiding behind the argument, no, he cannot do it.
Yes.
5 years ago, we were discussing Fulanization and Islamization of Nigeria in NIDO Forum. Some of us who brought up that topic were almost crucified for thinking that a thing like that would happen. Today, all those people have kept silent, and I would almost say they've become accomplished by silence. Another thing I would like to raise is the question of, we have not paid enough attention to the media. Look at the world history. His story, that's the history. If you don't tell people your history, nobody's going to learn about you. And if you control the media, you control the information, and it is the information that the media gives that can be used as parameter for judging anything. So we have to rethink the way we handle things, either only coming together to mourn or carry our story outside, play the media, or get to the media that has found it difficult to say or to give another narrative other than the truth. And another problem is we need people at the head who would be able to talk to the population. By that, I mean Nigerians, indigenous Nigerians, and let them understand really what is going on. And that involves, or that includes those of them who want to be presidents, who want to be senators, who want to be representatives in a constitution that has been rejected. I firmly believe that if we have the NINA's agenda promulgated as it has been spelled out, every person, or most Nigerians, most indigenous Nigerians will at least take their fate in their own hands, and we wouldn't be coming here any other time to start mourning about the Fulani people and what they have done to us. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Prof.
Thank you.
Paul, did you want to say a quick word, and then we'll see the video and close it down?
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Sorry, I joined very late. My main concern is about the silence of the media. I don't know. I believe this regime in Abuja has been able to silence the media. The media people are so afraid. Even some programs are listening online, like in Abuja, Nigerian Info FM. When you call, or the people who call to criticize the government, they shut them down quickly and say, "Oh, we can't verify what you're saying." So there's any way we can find a way to reach these media people, and like you said, Jane, give them this evidences that they know already, so that they can put it out there. It will help a lot. And the international media too. I believe that there are some sections of international media that are sympathetic to the plight of the indigenous people of Nigeria who are suffering from this constant Fulani massacre. There's any way we can get to reach them, probably through Christian organizations like here in US and all that. They can reach them with these videos so that that's why they can play it. So it will be shown across the world, and people will know that these things are really going on. Just within the last week, there was some killings in Benue. They killed a lot of people in Benue, in some parts of, I don't know, it's Plateau and Adamawa as well. And all these areas are Christian indigenous populations or moderate Muslims, because they kill moderate Muslims too. So I don't know, it's a big problem. And the government, they have already turned their back against the indigenous people of Nigeria. So it's another problem. We'll have to find a way to get the media attention, because once media attention is focused on those issues, it helps to bring the government to at least take some level of actions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Paul. Those are really, that's really the reality of what we've been talking about. I think we've talked about a lot of things today that people really need to listen to. And, on this program, we try to bring all of this together because the strategy of the Fulani is to do things in bits so you can't see what they are doing. But we are at a time right now where we can see what they are doing. And we should resist what they are doing. We should stand up. We should do all the things that we've talked about to see that we save the indigenous people, because their extinction, there is ethnic cleansing going on. Mm-hmm. And so it is the responsibility of those that know to see that the others catch up, understand, and join in. And so on that note, let us take a look at what T.Y. Danjuma, and yes, I know some people have problems with it, but everyone comes to Christ or Muhammad or whatever else that you believe in at some point. And he did come there, and he did make mention to everyone. So Madhukwe, if you can please cue that up so that we don't have commercials, but we can go straight to it, so that we can
She's playing it now.
Hear. Okay. Yeah, it's not coming up yet.
In this state,
Madhukwe, are you sharing your screen?
She's sharing the screen. It's playing.
Okay, I can't hear it. That means I'm not sure if everyone can hear it.
I can hear it. Yeah.
I can hear it.
Yeah, most of us can hear it, I believe.
Okay.
Can you see the video also? Can you see the video?
Yeah, I can see it here.
If you can restart it, sorry, because I was speaking over because I can't hear it.
Let's go back. Whoa. Okay, now, yep. Go back to the beginning again if you can, please, Dr. Mulukwe. Thank you very much. Yes. Now.
But the peace in this state is under assault. There's an attempt at ethnic cleansing in this state, and of course, in all the riverine states of Nigeria. We must resist it. We must stop it. Mm-hmm. Every one of us must rise up. The armed forces are not neutral. They collude. Mm-hmm. They collude. They collude with the armed bandits that kill people, kill Nigerians. They facilitate their movements. They cover them. If you are depending on the armed forces to stop the killings, you will all die one by one.
Chilling. Absolutely chilling.
Very, very powerful words. And the reason why we show these videos is to have our people actually understand what is going on. Mr. Folletti talked about the fact about there might be disarming. The disarming already happened and is now every day the cleanup process of taking any kind of weapon, including machetes, away in southern Kaduna, which has been happening this past couple of years. Mm-hmm. That is already happening. And they justify it. Gummy says that they needed to protect cattle. What is more important? Cattle or human life?
Human beings.
Which one should be protected? I believe it's human life.
Yeah.
Not cattle.
But that's so not the Fulani believe. They believe in themselves and their cattle. That's all.
Right. They say that 100 humans equals one cattle. This was what Miiti Allah said. 100 humans equal one cattle.
Yeah, among themselves, but not us.
This is his statement. Mm-hmm. So
yes, and they get 100 million naira for it too.
Yeah.
Yes, they did to stop kidnapping, which apparently we know has not stopped. Right, that was in 2019. We have that video too. So the thing that we need to educate our people on is that we have an existential threat, meaning there is an attempt, a very serious attempt going on currently at ethnic cleansing. The Middle Belt has been taking the brunt of it. That's what's called ethnic cleansing. That's what's called genocide.
Yeah.
There's no ifs, buts, or wherefores as to what those are. And we cannot mince words here. So thank you, everyone. Next week, we will be tackling another topic that we will put out later. But I want to thank everyone for incredible insight into the issues that we face as a nation, as a people, and for the existence, our very existence of not just ourselves and our cultures, but the future of our children. So thank you all very much. Have a great week, and we'll see you back here next Saturday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Bye for
And
now.
my brother, pick up your phone when people call you.
Will do. I do. I'm going to call you straight away. I'm going to call you
Okay.
straight away.
All
I do
right.
apologize. Thanks.
All
Bye-bye. Bye. Bye.
Okay. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Bye. So we've dropped that now. I'm off air now. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sir. I'm really grateful for your incitement and so your insightfulness in all of this, and you know the power of your discussions. Honestly, you're cutting to the thrust of it. You're reminding us that these guys are not part of us and they need to go. And you know, we have to separate. Professor Anya, I thank you as well. Also, and Paul Ibekeme, thank you very much. But we will be back later on. Okay. So listen, I better drop off now. I think I'm gonna drop here because I think